Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for Breaking into Tech with the Alpha Northeast Regional Tech Summit virtual pop-up event. Very excited to be here with you. My name is Ben Garcia, and I am the Regional Director for Emerging Chapters within Alpha. I think we're going to be covering some very exciting topics today. We also have some great panelists who are representing different parts of Alpha from across the Northeast. So really excited to hear them today. As most of you know, we have a tech summit coming up. It's going to be from April 21st to 22nd. And the purpose of today's panel is to give you a teaser of all the exciting things that are going to be taking place during these 2 days. So with that, I'll get started by first introducing our different panelists. So first we have Joanna Cordisco, who is the Northeast Regional Director for Leading Chapters for Alpha. Hi, Joanna.
Hey.
Then we have Will Reed de Oliveira, who is an advisor for the Pride Plus Allies Network for Alpha New York. Hey, Will.
Hey, everyone.
Awesome. And then we have Luis Rosado, president for the Alpha New Jersey chapter. Hey, Luis.
What's up?
Great. And then we have Jamel Free, who's joining us from the Alpha New Jersey chapter.
Sorry. Alpha Philly.
Yeah, now I'm mixing it up. I'm already starting on the wrong foot. From Alpha Philly. Thanks for joining us, Jamel Free.
Hey,
Great. Well, I want to get the conversation started because, you know, I know each of you have played a very, very important role in putting this thing together. But before we get started, I'd say let's start with our Alpha stories. I'm not going to go over all 4 of them because I know they're all very, very amazing stories. But I'd like to maybe start with Joanna and Will with their Alpha stories. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got started in Alpha, you know, where you learned about Alpha and what your journey has been. And maybe we'll start with you first, Joanna.
Sure. Thank you, Ben. And thanks for putting this together. Really excited to share with everyone what the Tech Summit is all about and why you need to be there. But a little bit about my story. It is a long story, so I'll keep it short. Pretty much, I think like every female starts their career, you work very hard, you put your head down, you go to work day after day, you come home, take care of the family, and that's all you do, right? Because that's all you think you can do. I did that for a long time until I joined Bank of America. And then I realized that there were these ERG groups that I should join to really expand my network and myself out there, make a commitment to continue to develop myself as opposed to just going home every night. So I joined our ERG at Bank of America. And then from there, I started to join different events through the Alpha partnership that was built. And I started to very quickly realize the power of our community, the power of our network, the power of connecting with people, of looking and learning from role models, the power that we have to bring and string others along. And so it really has been a journey where I started attending small events here and there. I started to make really good connections, connecting with corporations, connecting with key senior leaders, as well as peers and early professionals like myself. From there, I just fell in love with the mission of the organization, with the people. And then I realized how much I can do myself once I got myself out of my comfort zone and really thought about innovation and transformation and how we can do different things for our communities.
Thank you for sharing that, Joanna. And yes, we know that Alpha is not just a family you join, it's one you commit to. So thank you so much for committing and being part of it and opening opportunities for others. Will, how about you?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So my story started actually in undergrad. I was a part of one of the student chapters of Alpha in undergrad. And I joined Alpha because it was literally the most welcoming, the most friendly, but friendly doesn't even go far enough to say, student chapter, professional chapter at my school. And at the time, I was still actually in the closet. Now I've come out and I'm queer. But at the time, ALPFA was just phenomenal. There were several people who were out as well in ALPFA, and it was home to me. And today, several years later, I still go on vacation. That's my primary friends are all from ALPFA. I will never stop being a part of ALPFA. Now it's just about, when do I pay for the lifetime membership? Right? Each year I have that question. And I met my husband, who's from Brazil, several years back, and introduced him to ALPFA. And so now we have the opportunity to both go on vacations with friends from ALPFA. I've gone on several vacations with him, with my friends. We go to convention every year, and now we get to serve on the board together. So it's come full circle for me, and it's been a phenomenal experience.
Wow, thank you, Will. And I myself, I mean, it's so important to be able to feel like you can be part of this community, right? And the fact that we also open it up to people, from all backgrounds. I think for me, I joined back in 2008 during the financial crisis, back when, all these people were being laid off. And it was definitely a difficult period, but similar to you, coming to a community where everyone wanted to help you, right? Whether it was finding that job, internship, it definitely makes a big impact. So thank you, Will, for being part of the family. So we're all board members, right? And we know, like I mentioned earlier, that it takes a lot of commitment. And so maybe, Jamelfri, I'll start with you. Serving on the ALPFA Philly board, why do you do it? And, what do you think are kind of the benefits of being part of a board?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, I'll admit it's definitely not an easy feat. I'm a solo mom. I work full time, right? And so for me, this work that we do on the board really does matter. And I have a lot of passion for it because of the gaps that I know exists within corporate industries, when it comes to Latinos in leadership. And I think that serving on the board gives us a voice. It gives us access to spaces that we wouldn't typically get access to, and allows us to have conversations with leaders that can really influence a lot of the decisions that can make a difference in a lot of Latino professionals' lives.
No, thank you for sharing that. And like we mentioned earlier, right? Even helping someone find a job or think about what the steps are, right, to get promoted, it's life-changing. It opens you up to a lot of different opportunities that you may not have had before. Thank you for sharing that. How about you, Luis?
Well, I think being on the board, it's probably the quickest way to boost your executive skills, because especially as you're a president or you move up in the chapter, you're basically making decisions that a company would probably be paying you $250,000 to make if you were doing it at the company. So we're able to make those type of decisions and have those type of strategic considerations, even though we're not getting paid, but it's just great practice for your executive skills. So that's something I always promote people to leverage this experience for that. And then number two, I would say, it's the best way to take risk and to develop and grow. You could try out different personalities. You could try out different leadership styles, and you don't have to do that with the risk that would occur if you were doing it at your job. And so a lot of the skills that I use now, which is helping me succeed at work, are things that I've done through the chapter, whether it's leading calls, leading leaders, or if it's leading leaders of leaders of leaders. So those are the type of things you can get serving on a board that you might not get at a $1 billion company.
I love that, Luis. Yeah, and I go back to when I first started on the board too, and I was probably at the young, tender age of 23, serving as president of a chapter. And I just think about, like you said, when you're that young, it's very difficult to get those type of leadership opportunities, to be able to manage a team, to be able to be put in front of executives, right, who at the end can coach or will be providing sponsorship, whatever that might look like. But it definitely makes a difference. Thank you, Luis, for sharing that. Now let's get into the tech summit. Now that we know the planners and the minds behind it, I'll go to you, Joanna, to get started on this one. But how did this whole concept come about? About starting a tech summit for the Hispanic-Latino Latinx community.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's an idea that was brewing in my head for many years, until I found the right team and the right partner to share that idea, to be innovative and to close the gap. So Yalmafri mentioned this earlier, right? You are in a position to make a difference, right? And when you think about making a difference, it's about how do we close the gap and how do we solve for a need that we have in the community. So I am a female in tech. I have a background in systems engineering. I've been in technology my whole life. And it just happens that I'm one of the few females in that space. And statistics show that only 8% of Hispanics are represented in the tech industry. So clearly there is a huge gap. Now, I experienced myself firsthand as I was starting in my career, and I was trying to find the right corporation, really the right organization that I would go to support. Um, I had a challenge in time finding which was the right organization, because what you see and what you find out there in this space is that there is organizations that tailor to students in tech or STEM, and then there's organizations that tailor to executives and very high up leaders. But there wasn't really an organization that tailored to the early professional, mid-level professionals. And that's where the gap was, right? That was our determination to do something about it. Well, what I also realized was, as I was in search for this organization, is that I was already part of that organization. And that organization was ALPFA, with 95,000 members. So very quickly, having conversations through networking, through events, through opportunities, I started to realize the lack of really just understanding of what tech is and what the opportunities are. So it's not that Latinos can go into the field, is that they don't know how to pivot. They don't, and one of the topics at the summit is demystifying tech, right? Which is, what is it truly about? Because most people think that you need to be an engineer and that you need to have a systems engineering background, right, to be in tech. What we don't realize and what we don't share often, and what people don't know because we don't talk about it, is that there is other fields like project management, like business analysts, like data analysts, and that is an easy pivot for many that are in finance and accounting, right? And so it really came to after COVID, right, when everything really went digital and everything transformed. That was the pivotal moment for us to say, we're here. It is now that we need to make this change. This is now that we need to innovate. And so through many conversations with Luis, and he's my partner in crime, and a lot of things that we do when it talks about transforming, we really kicked it off the ground, right? We started with one partner supporting the summit. It is a strategic direction that ALPFA wants to go as well. And so we're starting it now. Now is the time. I'm excited to cover some of the topics later as well, but that's really the reasoning why there is a huge opportunity in the community, and we need to create that awareness, that transparency for people to not be scared, because many of the skill sets that everybody has can be applied and can be transferred to tech, because our world is digital.
No, thank you, Joanna.
Thanks for that question.
And I really like the point where you're making that distinction, right? This isn't just a summit where people are coming and it's for people that just know technology and that's it, right? It's a, let's say it's a forum where people can also come and learn, right? What types of careers they can explore. They can network with people that have maybe transitioned from business to technology. And it really serves as a bridge, right, for anyone who thinks that this might be a field that they want to learn more about. So I definitely think this is a forum like no other. It's going to be a great opportunity for us, and we're definitely grateful to Alpha and all the Northeast Alpha chapters that have provided us support to help us to where we are today, which again, we're a week away, pretty crazy. But Luis, how about you? What do you want to add to that story, to how this idea came to life?
Well, definitely when Johanna first brought it up, I thought she was crazy. I was like, wow, that's a crazy idea. It's never gonna happen. I don't know, Johanna's crazy, but as we started to think about it, we did realize that there's no way we can do it just in New Jersey. It was a lot of effort. It was going to be a big ordeal. And so once National reinstated the regional director program and we did the regional leadership summit, we started to realize we had the infrastructure and the networks and the relationships to actually pull it off. And I think that's where it all really started to come together, between the opportunity with COVID, the infrastructure we built, and then having, Johanna and Ben in the position to help coordinate all this.
Oh, thanks, Luis. Yeah, sometimes things start with a crazy idea, right? And I forgot how that quote goes, that it's all crazy until it comes, right? Or it's impossible until it happens. But let's move on then to location then, and how we chose Malvern, Pennsylvania. And so Jamelfri, you being from the Alpha Philly chapter, why don't you tell us a little bit about how we came up with the idea of having it there, and how Alpha Philly is going to welcome us next Friday.
Yeah, so it's so funny. And Luis kind of teed me up perfectly to share a little bit about this. But when people think of Philadelphia, the first thing that pops up is not Tech Hub, right? And like when people think Tech Hub, they're thinking Silicon Valley, they're thinking the West Coast. But year over year, Philly is starting to see an increase in tech jobs. And the city is starting to invest more in helping to develop professionals in the area who are, moving into tech jobs, and encouraging organizations, tech firms to really come into the city and hire and employ more of our residents. And so I think it's really important to think about that. There's no need to move to the West Coast. There's no need to completely relocate. So many of these opportunities are really coming to our area. And Philly is really accessible, right? We have Center City, which is accessible from Delaware, New Jersey, New York, PA. It's just a short 1 hour train ride from each of those areas, right? And so I think it's really important to think about that. And then in addition to that, like just the Philly burbs are beautiful. I'm from New York, Bronx bred, proud Bronx Dominicana, but I love living in the Philly burbs. My daughter loves it, right? And so it's really important for us to showcase that Philly is not just a small city. We have the Philly burbs, and Malvern is part of that. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's a great place to raise families, and a great place for our kids to go to school. And so, we wanted to celebrate the culture in the area, but also create awareness of the growth that we're seeing in tech jobs and opportunities.
No, thanks, Jamelfri. And there's going to be plenty of parking too, which is different.
Yes, who wants to go to an event and struggle to find parking, right? Like we're making it really convenient for people to just show up. So definitely.
That's my number one concern. Where am I going to park? But no, thank you, Jamelfri. And we're excited. I've had the honor to go see the venue with a lot of the teammates here, and I mean it's very beautiful, very spacious. So it's definitely worth the drive, the train ride, whatever it's going to take to get there. And then you'll have the Alpha Media welcoming you as well. Exactly.
Yeah, and listen, we're gonna party and we're gonna have fun. It's about we work hard, but we play hard, and that's definitely a huge part of it. And so, we welcome all of our attendees to join us at our social events, and to visit so many of the fun places in city and in the city. And so we'll definitely be hanging out with you guys after hours in the city as well. So
Thank you. Important reminder.
Philly cheesesteak at 2 a.m. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, I'm getting hungry. Well, with that, before we continue the conversation, I just want to remind everyone who's watching, if you have any questions, make sure to start adding them to the comment section. Make sure to, submit whatever questions we have so we can cover them tonight. And obviously, you can always message us on LinkedIn too if you're still on the fence. We'll find a way to get you there. But okay, with that, I think you alluded to this a little bit earlier. Will, we know that ALPFA open to many communities of different backgrounds. And then we also know that you will be an instructor / coordinator facilitator at the event. So I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of what excites you about the summit and then the topic you'll be covering.
Yeah, absolutely. So my role, I work for SIA Partners, which is a management consulting company headquartered in Paris. And my role there is a manager in their global extended reality software engineering team. So extended reality, probably many of you are like, what the heck is that? I didn't know what it was 2 years ago. And so that is a totally normal question. Extended reality is near and dear to my heart. It's my everyday, but it's virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. It's kind of the umbrella term for everything. So I alluded to it earlier. You're right, Ben. My husband and I have launched the Pride and Allies Network for ALPFA New York. And so within that Pride and Allies Network, there's opportunity to meet other queer Latinx people. And then also we have Queer Latinx in Tech group. And so we will be hosting one of the breakout sessions, whether you're an ally, whether you identify as a member of the Pride community, we'll be hosting a virtual reality demonstration. We'll have Oculus headsets to try out some of the different opportunities. Yeah, Jamal, you're welcome to come too. It's on Saturday, I believe at 1. And there are still some spots available. So if you are interested, feel free to sign up on the website. But really, it's part of our greater goal to increase representation of queer Latinx people in technology. And so that's why we have an upcoming actually mentorship and accelerator program where we'll be selecting 10 to 15 fellows or scholars to participate in this. And we'll be teaching those fellows how to pivot into a technical career in extended reality. And so part of that will be also a networking event where it'll be really the first time that as a Northeast regional community, we have a chance to have everybody from Philly, from Boston, from New York, from Jersey, that might identify as queer or an ally in the same room, right? So we want to take advantage of that, kind of have some demos of a really cool immersive technology that can be used for talking about, when you think about virtual reality, there's lots of use cases where, people can be immersed in a place that they would never be able to just visually or looking at a PowerPoint. And so that leads to really deep conversations and storytelling about intersectionality and around, our life experiences. So that's what we'll be doing for our breakout.
Thank you, Will. And could you go over a little bit, maybe the requirements for that fellowship that you mentioned earlier? Maybe just a couple.
Yes, I'm happy to share some of the requirements. So this will be we will be asking for those that identify as queer and Latinx to be applying. More details are actually being released in the next couple of weeks. We will be sharing within the actual breakout session more defined details and kind of help you put together your portfolio and things, but we'll also be sharing that on social media in the next couple of weeks. We're finalizing some really cool partnerships with ALPFA sponsors and with other new third-party vendors that we'll be using for training. So I don't want to share too much yet, but really it will be for those who are 2 to 5 years into their career, but maybe they're not in extended reality and want to pivot.
Thank you, Will. And another good reason to attend the summit.
Exactly.
You'll be the first one to learn the requirements. Thank you, Will. I appreciate that. What about, and I know, Joanna, you were also discussing this a little bit earlier, right? We know the gaps that exist in technology when it comes to women professionals. Um, Maybe we'll get you started, and then Jamefri can add as well. But what type of opportunities are going to be available for women in technology? What types of works? What types of topics are we going to be hearing about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited about this. I always wanted to create a female tech space for women to grow. So we have actually established a partnership with Latinas in Tech. So the CEO and founder, Rocio Van Naboop, will be joining us as well. I don't want to give away too much because I want to make sure that everyone is there, but there is a special women's networking breakfast where we're going to be connecting on really insider tips for how female can really succeed in a tech career. So we know that there has been progress being made, but the gender gap is still persists, right? And it's very much a male dominated industry. So you'll get to hear from very senior female leaders on how they have been able to navigate the tech industry, their peers, and insider tips on how to set up for success, right? What are the things that we need to consider as we're growing up in the ranks? There will be some information as well around, for those that, again, early career trying to transition and don't know how. There will be opportunities to understand as a female what are some of those areas that you should focus on if you're really trying to pivot into tech. And there would be a special VIP reception as well for women to make sure that you build your network, that we females are there for each other, and that we can also support each other and guide each other as we continue to go in this tech industry.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, I think one, this summit has been beautifully curated. Joanna, as a woman in tech herself, has done a really great job to make sure that there's representation and a space for women and the LGBTQ plus community to show up. And Luis, as an Afro Latino as well, like these are things that we're constantly talking about. How do we make sure that people are feeling represented in these spaces? I think another part of this, as someone who is a lifelong learner, I'm not in the tech space, but I'm never going to limit the spaces that I choose to enter so that I can learn more. Part of being a leader is opening yourself up to learning about new things. And tech is one of those things that for me is a gap. I have a knowledge gap in that space. As a woman, I want to be able to say, hey, you know what? These are the things that I know. I have tangible, things that I've learned. I have soft skills that I can transition. I want to be able to speak to that regardless of which direction I choose to take my career. Right. And so for someone who doesn't work in tech, being in this space is still just as important for me as a Latina and as a professional, because I want to understand and get to know more about what's happening in the space. And so I think that that's the beauty of this summit and the way that it's been put together.
No, I definitely, and having initially looked at the agenda, I love to see that we have so many topics, right? That again just speaks to the diversity that exists within the Hispanic Latino community. We're not just one specific group and that's it. There's so many stories, so much color to it. So many different upbringings, whatever it might be, right, that define this specific group. So great to see that we have a lot of different content that's going to empower our Latina leaders. So let's talk a little bit. Let's pivot a little bit about like who should be attending this event and why. And so maybe Luis, what's your pitch? Like why should I go to this summit?
Well, number one, because the partners want the talent. I mean, we talk with the partners, and their number one objective is to find the top Latino IT talent. So if you're particularly in the market or have your toe in the market, there's going to be plenty of hungry recruiters there that would like to meet you and see if there's a match. So that's number one. Number two, even if you're not looking for work, you got to keep your network strong and you got to stay up to date, because you never know, especially now with what's going on with tech, you never know when the hammer may fall. And so you have to always be ready and have your networks on tap, right? Because you don't want to start networking when you need the job. It's best to network in advance and have those relationships ready and warm. And so that's one of the other reasons. And then third, again, if you're looking to get into tech or if you're a student, you got to start building up your professional network and start understanding what it's like to work as an IT professional. So we hit those three markets really well.
Wow. You already convinced me, Luis. I think you had me at the first one, but Will, what would you add to that list?
Let's see. So I have had a sneak peek at the specialty cocktails for the Friday night.
Priorities.
I won't give anything away, but that is definitely number 4 to add to Luis's list. No, in all seriousness, though, you can never know it all, and you can never. I'm a big proponent in always being a junior something, whether that's junior in Portuguese. Right now, my husband is from Brazil, I mentioned, so I am currently a very junior person in that. There was I started in finance and have pivoted now to software engineering, right? So, there's always things that you can be a junior in, and you don't know what you don't know. And maybe you've considered it. Maybe you've seen, I know, like on TikTok and Instagram, for those of you who are currently in college, I watch the TikToks that are recorded and then reposted on Instagram. So I don't get them first view. But those of you who are on there, you see the immense potential for careers in technology, and you don't know what that means. Come to this event. That's literally what this is for as well, right? So I would make that number 5, maybe number 4.
Put the fun at number 5.
Anything else you would add, Joanna or Jamilfrey, to that list?
I think, and those are all great points that everyone made. We really have gone out of our way to make sure that we have the proper speakers as well. And I know, right, especially if you are somebody in the industry that want to eventually also do an event that includes some speaking engagements, going back to the networking opportunity, right, is connecting to the experts, right? Connect to the experts that can help you in your career, that can continue to expand your network. One of the very key topics that I'm excited about is, ChatGPT, and really understanding what that means in terms of business cases and how we implement it, in our everyday life. There is experts that can speak to how they've been able to successfully use it. So again, making connections with key experts, and like Will said, just learning, always learning.
And honestly, I think that's the essence of leadership, right? Like if you're someone who's hoping to develop your leadership skills, you have to attend summits, you have to network, you have to expose yourself to more knowledge and more learning opportunities. And this is one of the ways, and it's not typically this affordable to be able to do that, right? So not only are we making it accessible, we're making it diverse, we're making it fun, but we're also making it affordable and relevant to what's happening now. And again, to reiterate, the content really has been thoughtfully put together, and our speakers are all really phenomenal. And so they deserve to have you guys there.
And let me add on, and by affordable, we don't mean that it's cheap, right? It's affordable because we've been able to subsidize substantial cost through the partnerships.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because typically something like this, you're probably going to be paying about $1,500 to do it in
Absolutely.
the open market. But because we're nonprofit, we want to help the community. We come in at a very aggressive price point to make it very accessible. So thanks for bringing that up,
Yeah.
Amalfi.
Yeah, and if you're not convinced yet, we still got a couple more minutes to convince you. So I have one question from the audience. So what if you have no direct tech experience, but you're considering a career shift? Is this a place for me? Who wants to take that?
I can speak to that because I'm probably one of the few people in this conversation that's not like tech adjacent, right? So I'm someone who I spent over 12 years in retail banking across various roles, and then I shifted to nonprofit management. So I'm a program director, and I design and lead programs that are not tech related. They're all professional development centered. And so for me to carve out the time, not just to help plan this, but also to like be present and participate, it's really important because again, the learning aspect. I don't know where my career is gonna go or where I need to take my career come a month from now, right? There's so many uncertainties when you're a professional. There's so many uncertainties when you're from a minoritized community when it comes to your career. And so regardless of where I work, whether it's in banking or education, nonprofit, I'm always going to look for opportunities to learn more and give myself access to people who have a broader knowledge base that can help me develop my skills as a leader, and my knowledge. And then if I ever want to pivot, then I've built those connections. To Luis's point, I've built those relationships on the front end. And so making those connections, maintaining those connections, and giving myself access to the knowledge that I need to be able to make myself someone who can easily transition into tech, that's super valuable.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, to add on, I know Johanna had mentioned like whether you're a project manager or analyst, because as a project manager, as long as you can keep people on track, you may not know the particular topics, but they know their topics. As long as you can keep people on track, you know how to maintain relationships, you can run a meeting. There's plenty of space in the tech industry if you're new to it.
Yeah, good point. That's what I was going to add on as well. There is always going back to those transferable skills. Everybody has them, and everybody can transfer those skills. There is endless opportunities in tech for that. So come and learn about what those opportunities are and how you can get there, because it's very doable.
Plus, last thing I'll add to that, right? We talked about it earlier multiple times. We're community, right? We're here to set you up for success. Even if you don't know anyone, right? Tonight you just met 5 people that you can go up to and say hi, right? And we can help connect you with different people. Yeah, I'm putting you all on the spot now. So you have 5 friends that can help you network when you get there, so you won't be alone. It's always scary too, going somewhere maybe you've never been before, but I can tell you when it comes to the Alpha Familia, it's definitely worth the investment. You get a lot more than what you put in. Okay, I'll move on to another question. Maybe whoever can answer this, and what are some of the sponsors that will be attending? And tell me a little bit more about this expo that's taking place. Who wants to take on that one?
I can speak to that one. So when it comes to the sponsors, we have a lot of the big 4 companies. The KPMG, we have Deloitte, we have Comcast, talking about a technology local company. We have Citi as well, Morgan Stanley, and there is more. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few, but what that tells you is the interest that the companies really have, right, in the success of this event because of their support. When it comes to the Tech Expo, it's really about providing everyone an opportunity to understand what companies are working on from a technology and transformational standpoint. Every company is going to bring their own flavor of the technologies that they want to showcase to the individuals. but they want you to know why many of these companies are not just financial companies. And many people think the same, right? Just like Vanguard, right? They're not a financial company. There is technology across all of this financial industries. So even when you hear the names, you might think, well, it's all finance. Yeah, but there is this at the core, there is technology, and nothing gets done without technology, right? And that is why the emphasis in tech, because all of these companies have those opportunities and they have that need. So they will be sharing and showcasing the transformational opportunities and work that they're driving internally to change their business, right? And to change the way that they support the community as well, and the way that they transform business internally.
And these organizations are looking for Latino talent to fill these seats, right? And to help innovate and to help create the next new thing. And I think that that's part of it also. A lot of the partners that we're going to have on site are actually going to be taking time out to sit with individuals during the summit to learn more about them and their career journey and where they hope to take their career, and interview. And we have speed mentoring happening, and we have executive coaching on site as well. So there's so many different opportunities for us to make connections that'll help us advance in our career on site as well, because of our partners, because of the partnerships, and the fact that they're bringing people to be able to help us do.
Yes. No, thank you, Jamelfrey. And back to that point, to also thank Vanguard, right, who's hosting us on their campus and has helped make this possible. Again, the first time we're doing this, and they stepped up and said, let's do this, right? And then we brought together all of our other partners to make this a success. So that's why it's also happening in Malvern, Pennsylvania. So another question that came up, love it. Will the Tech Summit have a similar feel to the ALPFA convention, but with a stronger focus on tech? Who wants to answer that one?
Yeah, I'd say it's similar. I mean, I've been to many conventions. It's similar, but definitely smaller in scale because it's regional, and which is great because when it's smaller in scale, you basically get to meet basically everyone attending. In the small group, everyone gets to know who's there. You get to interact more. It's a much more intimate environment, and yeah, definitely will be focused on tech.
And
But we got the social. We got the social. Yeah, Damien will be there. We got the social aspects with the social mixers. We got delicious food. We're gonna be at the country club. So there's a lot to benefit from this.
Yes. And hopefully we're representing the Alpha Familia well too right now, right? No, it's definitely going to have that feel. Another question is, will there be any biopharmaceutical companies present that are interested in recruiting talent with tech and life science skills?
Yes, yes, yes. We're going to have Organon there, which is a med tech company. They focus on women's health. And so definitely we're going to have some of the local companies that are in the biotech and the med tech space. We also have Exelon. I'm not sure if Johanna already mentioned them, but a lot of utilities companies that are innovating and making sure that they're hiring the Latino talent as well. So absolutely, there's a diversity of companies. Even if you haven't seen their logo posted, we are still getting companies reaching out to us asking if they can be a part of it.
And to add to that quickly, Alpha Philly and Alpha New Jersey also have very good sponsors, right, that work in that space. So even if they're not there, you could always connect with a board member at that event, and they'll open that door for you. Again, putting our teams on the spot. Go, Joanna.
Yes, no, good point, Ben, because you're absolutely right. And it goes back to the networking, right? You don't know who you're going to connect with, and that person you connect with knows of a position internally in that company or knows somebody who knows somebody. That's how this works. That is how positions open and opportunities open, through your network.
Great. Okay. So let's say I've decided to buy my ticket. I'm already, getting ready to buy my train ticket to Malvern. What are some tips for getting prepared? Who wants to get us started on that? Like, what how can I position myself for success?
Whew, that's a
As
tough
I'll
one.
say,
Nah,
as an experienced professional, I'll start there.
yeah, definitely. I would say research the companies that are going to be there, particularly if you have a target company there. Look at the speakers, look at their profiles, look us up, look up our profiles, and come ready and prepared to pitch yourself. Like I said, these companies are very interested in diversifying their talent, and they want to meet you. They want to know about you. So come, bring your best foot forward.
Yeah, I second that. I know. So on the website, I think there was a link posted just now in the chat with the website for this event. If you click on the section that says sessions, there's a list of all the different speakers and what the topics they're going to cover. And I believe also profiles and links to their LinkedIn. I know that I personally have already reached out to on LinkedIn. So I will put myself in the hot seat and say, I think that's, if you have a specific interest, that is the best way, so that somebody knows. I know from my side, my LinkedIn fills up after these events. And so if someone's reached out before these events, that person's at the top of my list to make sure I connect with and look for. You don't want to get lost afterwards, although of course I still get to that eventually. But that's definitely a hack that I highly recommend for you all to take advantage of.
One thing that I've learned, I always update my resume before an event. When you register, you have the option of uploading your resume. So make sure that you've updated your resume before you've uploaded your resume. And if you haven't done that, update it, go back in there and upload your updated resume, please. But also, a lot of folks always kind of like try to crowd the spotlighted speaker, right? We have to remember there are very few degrees of separation. If you really want to speak with someone and set aside time with that person and they're being crowded or something like that, make a note for yourself, see who's around them, see if there's anyone else that you can connect with. And that may be an invaluable connection. Don't just wait for like that big name speaker. All of our facilitators are phenomenal. All of our facilitators are great. And so don't limit yourself and who you're trying to gain access to as well. And then I just can't reiterate, like what Will said is really important. Update your LinkedIn. Make sure that it's like current. Make sure you don't have a random picture on there. Like we are professionals and let's make sure we just show up as such, right? I think that's really important. And then the last thing I'm going to share is always come with an ask, right? So know what you're looking for, know why you're coming, and find the person that you can make that ask to, right? But also know what you can give. You got to give to receive. So what do you bring to the table when you're connecting and when you're networking and when you're pitching yourself? What are you bringing to the table? And then, what is the ask that you have? Always keep that top of mind, even if you're not talking about it in the moment, because it's just really important for us to be able to show up as our whole selves and seek out the opportunities that we need to.
Thank you all. And two points to add, I guess, on the student side, because I see some students are asking questions too, which is great. I'd say all those points apply. Resume, networking, research, all of that. Good stuff. And I love how you all mentioned, finding out who's going there. I think joining our LinkedIn events page, right, for this event is another good way, right? Join that. Start getting to know maybe some of the people that are going to the event. And I would also say, if you're looking to save on expenses, use that group too, right, to reach out to other students. And so on my second point now, what I'll say too is if you are a student or you're facing financial hardships and you are trying to make it out to the event, but again, cost is a limiting factor, reach out to us. Because again, we do want to make sure that we get people there that feel like they're prepared for success, right? We don't want costs to be, at least on the registration side, we don't want costs to be.
Listen, the partnerships team has worked hard to make this very possible for a lot of people. So we want people to definitely take advantage of that, and professionals as well. Closed mouths don't get fed.
Oh, I never heard that one. That's a good one.
I'm gonna write that one down right now. All right, let's talk. So I saw there was something there around executive coaching. Could maybe Jamelfri, I know you're leading that. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is, who gets access to it?
Yeah, so the executive coaching is for folks who are in senior manager positions or above. We are not limiting it to that. If you think that you would benefit from executive coaching, I encourage you to sign up. But ideally, it is for folks who are really trying to get bumped to the next step in their career, from a titles standpoint, from an access standpoint. These executive coaches are ICF certified. They're certified coaches by the International Coaching Federation. And they're not coming as volunteers. We're actually paying them to be there, because we think that it's really important for people who don't typically get access to executive coaching to experience it and be able to have someone that they can talk to and figure out how to navigate a challenging conversation, or something that's happening in the workplace, or maybe an obstacle that you're facing as you're trying to move up. And so we've actually identified certified executive coaches to be at the event to support you guys real time. So it'll be happening on Friday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And you'll have a dedicated person. This isn't a group thing. This is a one-to-one conversation. And so definitely encourage you to go ahead and sign up, and reach out if you have any questions. Just feel free to reach out to me. I've gone through executive coaching, and it changed the way that I, look at my career. It changed the way that I parent, the way that I mother. It changed so many aspects of the decisions that I make, because I was able to get that additional insight from a professional who has been doing this for a really long time, right? And so take advantage of that. It's really exciting to be able to offer that during the summit.
I'm sold. I think I'm gonna have to skip my speed mentoring session. No, I gotta be there. So so I'll give my shameless plug for the speed mentoring too. Uh, so we've all heard of speed dating, we've all heard of mentoring. Now we've combined them, except on the professional development aspect of it. And so we will have high-level executives, senior leaders sitting at different tables, and we'll have groups of different attendees rotate from table to table to talk about different topics, right? That'll help us think about, again, how to own our careers. Like, what are the things we should be thinking about to get to that next level? So, another great opportunity, again, to network, to meet people, to build relationships. So, very excited about that component of it, too. And I see, wow, we have 5 minutes left. We went really quick. So to make sure that we close with a little time before our coordinators here call me out. So just I wanted to really thank our sponsors. Well, first, thank everyone here, right? So Jamelfri, Joanna, Will, and I think Luis, who's with us in spirit. He might have had to drop because of his Wi-Fi connection. But thank you so much for joining us today and kind of sharing your thoughts and just being part of this movement, right? And that's what I'll call it, because it's not something that's just going to be a one-off and never happening again, right? This is the beginning of something powerful and that will be sustainable. So thank you all for contributing to it. And I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of people that are going to be attending as well. So thank you. And then I don't know if Felicia, you want to show some of our sponsors just to get people excited. But we want to thank all of our sponsors, right? Vanguard, Prudential, Deloitte, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Exelon, Lincoln Financial, Organon, Comcast, Latinas in Tech, and then Hispanic Technology Executive Council. Thank you so much for making this idea come to reality. Without their support, right, we can't have our beautiful venue in Malvern, Pennsylvania, and then all the fun stuff we'll be doing in that area. And then finally, I also want to mention, for those of you that are looking for some quick discounts for professionals, we have a coupon code here for 20% off. For student, 30% off. You'll also find this on all the different pages that we're posting on at the moment. Please, I'm not trying to put too much info out there. I'm not a bot, but we're super excited about getting people to this event. And like I mentioned earlier, if there is a financial hardship that you're going through, or you know, you're a student and at the moment the registration fee isn't working for you, please reach out to us, and we'll see how we can work with you to make sure you're successful, that we meet you in person. But I think we have about 4 minutes. Any final words before we close on why we should attend the summit? Jamelfri, I'll get started with you.
Because why not? We've given all the reasons. We've given all the reasons. No, but for real, it's definitely it's worth the investment. It's worth the time, and it's gonna pay off in volumes after the fact, right? So small investment, long-term gain, big gains, for sure.
Thank you, Joanna.
I'm just going to say we all have a reason to learn. We all have a reason to connect to somebody new. If you're looking for an opportunity, that's fine. You're happy with the company. I know I am. But I want us to act as a community, right? To, again, really expand the knowledge about what technology is, why technology is important, the difference that you can make, how you can pivot into that space. Just come and learn. Give yourself a chance. Be open-minded, have fun, walk away with a lot of connections, and you never know what the future is going to bring. So we're here for you. This change is for us as a community because we need to elevate ourselves to where we need to be in the tech space. So looking forward to seeing everyone there.
Thank you, Joanna. How about you, Will?
You know, I mentioned earlier about always being a junior in something. I think Joanna's point about always learning. I took baby steps, right? I thought it was too much, too crazy at first, and then slowly but surely signed up for a free course, and then got into data science and ultimately software engineering, right? And I didn't know that that would be my journey, but this could be, you know, your baby step first. You meet somebody, you take a free course, you get some speed mentorship, right? And then you figure out what is the next baby step. So don't sleep on it.
Thank you, Will. And I'm sure Luis would have said something very inspirational too. But come meet the Alpha next Friday and Saturday. I will also, on behalf of all of us, thank you Alpha National too for hosting us and helping us be with you tonight. So thank you everyone who was able to join in the audience too, and for your questions and insights. And we look forward to reconnecting again next weekend. So see you there.
See you guys. Register.
Get registered. I think we're good.